It started with one shocking video, and now the whole country is watching. A major restaurant chain is under fire tonight after a county worker captured something disturbing. Trays of food placed carelessly beside a dumpster. Yes, a dumpster. For many, this feels like a betrayal. You'd think finding a good old-fashioned buffet would still be easy. The kind where you stack your plate with comforting favorites, laugh with loved ones, and leave full and satisfied. But times have changed. What used to be a warm tradition is slowly turning into a cold disappointment, especially for seniors who remember when buffets meant slow-roasted meats, garden-fresh veggies, and the smell of real cooking in the air. Now, in some places it feels more like walking into a graveyard of frozen food, lifeless, dry, and far from homemade. And once you take a closer look behind those shiny sneeze guards, you might never look at buffet dining the same way again. Let's start with a name millions of Americans have trusted for years: Golden Corral. Golden Corral made its mark offering endless choices, steaming trays of meats, sides, desserts, all laid out like a feast. But behind the curtain of variety lies a growing pile of complaints from both customers and former employees. It seems the only thing this buffet is overflowing with lately is disappointment. Across different locations, guests have reported finding meats left under heat lamps for hours, so dry and rubbery they're barely edible. One elderly diner even joked that their steak was so tough it felt like chewing on an old boot. But for seniors, that's no laughing matter. Tough dry food isn't just unpleasant. It's a serious problem when you have dental or digestive issues. And it gets worse. Several former employees have confessed to a troubling practice known as tray flipping. That's when staff take old dried-out food from the bottom of a tray, stir it up to look new, and serve it like it's fresh. One worker revealed that the mac and cheese sat out so long the top layer would turn crusty. Instead of replacing it, they just scrape it off, mix it up, and keep scooping it onto plates. So next time you see that golden glow under the buffet lights, ask yourself, is it really fresh, or just cleverly disguised leftovers? If you thought heading to the salad bar meant a safer, healthier option, think again. Customers at several Golden Corral locations have raised red flags about what they found. Wilted lettuce, slimy cucumbers, and dressings left out so long they formed a thick, unappetizing skin. In one image that went viral, someone's so-called Caesar salad looked more like something from a forgotten fridge. Brown, soggy lettuce floating in a pool of separated dressing. That's not just unappealing. For seniors trying to manage their sodium or blood pressure, it can be downright dangerous. When food sits out too long, it becomes more than just unappetizing. It can turn into a health hazard. Now, if Golden Corral is the classic name in the buffet world, there's another chain that's quietly clinging to life in small towns across America: Ryan's Buffet. You may not see them as often anymore, but they're still out there, and what people are saying might make you think twice before grabbing a tray. Many guests have described Ryan's as less of a buffet and more of a gamble. A gamble where your health is at stake. One of the loudest complaints? Cold food. Over and over, reviews mention lukewarm fried chicken, mashed potatoes that are barely warm, and dishes that should have been hot, served just above room temperature. One elderly couple even shared on their blog how their food was stone cold by the time they sat down. It wasn't just unpleasant, it was alarming. Here's why that matters. Foods like chicken, beef, and even mashed potatoes must be kept above specific temperatures to stay safe. Letting them fall below that zone, even for a little while, can give harmful bacteria a chance to grow. And in buffet setups like Ryan's, this kind of temperature drop isn't just possible, it's common. And just when you think you're safe with dessert, think again. Ryan's is known for its sweet offerings, cakes, pies, even soft-serve ice cream. But behind those sugary smiles lies a bitter truth. Some former employees have come forward, revealing that many of the cakes are shipped in frozen, then thawed out and left sitting on display for days. Not hours. Days. When a cake dried out, staff were allegedly told to brush it with sugar water to make it look moist and fresh again. So that slice of chocolate cake that looked so tempting under the lights, it might have been sitting there all week, wearing a glossy disguise to fool you. And that brings us to our next stop on this buffet journey. Cici's Pizza Buffet. Known for its promise of endless pizza at a price that barely dents your wallet, Cici's built its name on being affordable. But sometimes, cheap comes at a cost you didn't bargain for. The old saying, "you get what you pay for," rings especially true here. And if you've ever visited, you might already know what's coming. While there's no shortage of pizza slices at Cici's, what's missing is the consistency. Customers across the country have taken to review sites with complaints that sound all too familiar. One disappointed guest described a slice so bare, it felt like tomato sauce on a dry cracker. Another said they bit into a slice that was stone cold in the center, raising the question, was it sitting out too long or just lazily reheated? But here's where it gets even more troubling. Former employees have exposed behind-the-scenes tricks that would make any pizza lover think twice. One such trick? Pizza rotation. That's when older, drying-out pizzas from the back are brought to the front of the buffet line, giving the illusion of freshness. Even worse, a former worker recalled a manager teaching staff to spray old crusts with water before tossing them in the oven, just to fake that fresh-out-of-the-oven look. The result? Soggy, chewy slices that are more punishment than pleasure. And if you're thinking of skipping the pizza and heading to the pasta bar, don't hold your breath. Many customers have reported noodles drowning in watery trays and sauces left out so long they form a thick, unpleasant skin on top. It's not just unappetizing, it's careless. Especially for older guests, where even one poorly prepared meal can trigger digestive discomfort, upset sensitive stomachs, or worse. What we're seeing here isn't just one bad night or one lazy employee. It's a pattern repeating across locations, across states, across countless reviews and employee confessions. Lukewarm food, lazy prep shortcuts, freshness that relies more on luck than on proper kitchen standards. And while a slice of soggy pizza or a watery tray of pasta might seem like a minor issue to some, for seniors managing heart conditions, blood pressure, or weakened immune systems, these details could be the difference between a decent meal and a serious health risk. Remember when dining out felt like a joy, not a gamble? A time to relax, share a meal, and feel taken care of, not second-guess every bite? If you want to keep your meals safe and your dining experiences honest, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and stick with us, because we're just getting warmed up. What's coming next may completely change how you view those all-you-can-eat spreads. Some of these buffet chains hide behind elegant names and upscale branding, but once you hear the truth, from customers and even former employees, you'll understand why skipping the buffet line might be the smartest move you make this year. And just when you think things couldn't possibly get riskier, more names begin to surface. Over and over, we see patterns of complaints and whispered confessions, places that promise comfort and quality, but behind the scenes, freshness is sacrificed for speed and savings. One name that often catches seniors off guard is Hometown Buffet. The name alone sounds welcoming. Hometown. It evokes warmth, memories, home-cooked food. But for many, especially older diners, the reality is far from cozy. What was once a trusted family spot with classics like roast beef, fried chicken, and soft-serve ice cream is now drawing criticism for exactly what it used to pride itself on. Take their roast beef, for example. Several guests reported arriving at the carving station only to find a tough, dried-out hunk of meat that had clearly been sitting under heat lamps for hours. One reviewer even said they needed 2 hands to saw through it. That's more than just an unpleasant texture. It's a real obstacle for seniors dealing with dentures, jaw problems, or sensitive digestion. And it doesn't stop there. Former staff have opened up about shortcuts that were all too common. When the macaroni and cheese started running low, instead of making a fresh batch, they'd just pour in more water or milk to stretch it. On the surface, it might have looked creamy, but the moment it hit your plate, it broke apart into a watery mess of cheese-flavored liquid and gummy noodles. A far cry from the homemade comfort food they advertise. Then there's the vegetable section. Reviews from older customers describe limp, lifeless veggies, oversteamed until they practically melted into mush. One diner said their green beans tasted like they'd been soaking in warm water all day. No seasoning, no texture, just bland sadness in a tray. And if you're watching your sodium or dealing with dietary restrictions, don't expect much help here. According to former employees, many hometown buffet items, even simple ones like mashed potatoes, are heavily pre-seasoned with salt and preservatives before ever reaching the buffet line. So while it might look like a simple, comforting meal, you could be consuming far more sodium and additives than you realize. Once a beloved name that stood for hearty, affordable meals with a side of old-fashioned charm, Old Country Buffet is now earning a reputation for something far less comforting. Seniors who grew up trusting this chain are now finding that dining there feels less like a pleasant outing and more like a desperate rush to grab food before it's too far gone. One of the most frequent complaints? Temperature, or the lack of it. Older diners have shared story after story about arriving at the buffet only to find soups, gravies, and hot sides that are barely warm. But this isn't just about taste. Lukewarm food can be dangerous, especially for seniors with weaker immune systems. One guest recalled cutting into a slice of turkey that felt like it had come straight from the refrigerator, not a carving station. That's not just unsettling, it's potentially unsafe. And it's not just customers saying this. Former employees have confirmed the troubling details behind the scenes. In some locations, they said, the heating equipment was unreliable and no one bothered to fix it. "We just keep stirring the food," one worker confessed, hoping it looked hot enough to pass. When trays ran empty, staff would often pull items straight from the fridge and rush to reheat them, sometimes without even bringing them up to safe temperatures before placing them back out for guests. But it's not just the entrees you have to worry about. The dessert bar, once a highlight, has its own hidden issues. Several guests reported being served half-frozen pies, sliced straight from the freezer, still crusted with ice crystals. One senior couple thought they were digging into a warm apple pie, only to find the center frozen solid. So much for that cozy, homespun feeling Old Country Buffet once promised. Cleanliness is another red flag. Multiple reviews and even news reports have revealed problems at various locations. Sticky floors, dusty vents, unwashed trays, and food residue left behind. While no restaurant is spotless every hour of the day, this consistent lack of upkeep, especially in lower traffic locations, suggests a pattern where cutting corners has become far too common. And now, just when you think the next buffet might offer relief, we arrive at a more modern, health-focused option, the one many assume is a safer bet: sweet tomatoes. A salad buffet should be the safest choice, right? Especially for seniors who prefer lighter, heart-friendly meals. But what customers have uncovered at Sweet Tomatoes tells a different story. At first glance, Sweet Tomatoes seems like a breath of fresh air in the world of heavy, greasy buffets. It promises a healthier experience: fresh salads, warm soups, wholesome baked goods. But don't let the clean counters and cheerful atmosphere fool you. According to many reviews, the reality behind this healthy buffet isn't always as fresh as it seems. Multiple diners have reported produce that's far from crisp. Brown lettuce, wilted spinach, and cucumbers that look tired and soggy show up in review after review. For seniors who are trying to eat better, adding more fiber, vitamins, and greens into their diets, this kind of inconsistency doesn't just feel disappointing. It feels like a betrayal. One guest shared that they carefully filled their plate with leafy greens, only to discover slimy, spoiled leaves hidden underneath the top layer. And unfortunately, this isn't an isolated case. Former employees have revealed that while produce shipments often arrive in good condition, some locations slack off when it comes to rotating stock. During slow hours, bins of lettuce and other vegetables are left out far too long, wilting quietly until every bite loses its crunch and its nutrition. And if you think the soups and baked goods are safer options, think again. Guests have complained about lukewarm soups and muffins or bread that felt more stale than soft. What makes Sweet Tomatoes especially risky is the health halo it carries. Because most of the menu is light, salads, soups, baked items, people assume it's good for them. But hidden in that illusion are some surprising dangers. Several soups and dressings reportedly pack more sodium than a fast food burger. One diner said their clam chowder was so salty, it tasted like it had been scooped straight from the ocean. For seniors managing high blood pressure or heart conditions, these hidden sodium bombs can turn what seems like a healthy meal into a serious health risk. By now, a clear pattern has emerged. It's not just one bad location or an off day in the kitchen. From Golden Corral to Ryan's Buffet, Sicey's Pizza, Hometown Buffet, Old Country Buffet, and now Sweet Tomatoes, the same issues keep surfacing: food that sits too long, prep shortcuts that sacrifice freshness, and a relentless focus on quantity over quality. And while younger customers might shrug it off, seniors, who are more vulnerable to illness, dietary sensitivity, and digestive issues,